back to you, Daniel, if you would get into Japanese.
Sure. Now, in the Age of the Gods, the cosmos was physically divided into three distinct realms, each populated by different castes of magical beings. The heavens are purely divine, the earth is mostly mundane, and beneath the realm of man is a polluted and meaningless world of death and decay, only accessible by dark, damp caves or by death itself.
From JapanThis.com. And just for fun, Daniel, go ahead and try out those ones at the bottom. If you want to, you don't have to.
What is the Takama Gahara is the heavenly high plane, and the Ashihara Nonaka Tsukuni is the central land of the reed plains, and the Yomi Tsukuni is the land of Yomi, the underworld or the realm of ghosts.
Whoa. We need to do a true Japanese accent here.
Yomi Tsukuni.
When we say our Japanese words, you have to greatly crescendo in volume, and you say so that way we can truly, our brethren across the sea in Japan can understand what we're saying
and relate to it. Yeah.
Well, I just reading the slide. I'm now hungry for some sushi. But anyways, that's besides the point.
Hadouken.
Perfect.
Nonetheless. Yep. So good stuff there. Yeah, that's the Japanese apparently also ascribe to the same tripartite spatial division.
It looks like a footstool.
I was going to say this is one of the more direct to that understanding of it having like an actual structure with it's sitting on something, having legs like a little coffee table, footstool type structure.
I see it very much parallels the Babylonian version of it as well, which is interesting.
It does, yeah. Very symmetrical and geometrical, I should say.
And then that temple, right, the ziggurat style high place that they would have in the middle of the depictions of cosmology for the Babylonians is now layered on top of itself, inverted. The Far East cultures, they call this Mount Meru or Sumeru. And so that's a fascinating topic, because if it's not a big old tree that they picture, it's this mountain. And sometimes they'll say it extends up to heaven. This mountain does. There's a lot of mixed information out there about this concept and idea, but I'm interested in it. I'd love to know more.
Yeah.
This is you, Samson.
Yeah, the Chinese Taoist cosmology. To the ancient Chinese, heaven and earth were parallel flat planes, a round heaven above a square earth, and notion goes back as far as the Shang dynasty. The heavenly bodies rotated around the celestial North Pole, appearing to rise and set. That's a Sarah Allen, The Shape of the Turtle Myth, Art and Cosmology in Early China.
All right. So the Shang dynasty, when was that? That was about the second millennium BC.
Yeah. This
2,000 years BC.
Beginning of the Dragon Kings. Yeah.
How about that? So 2,000 years before Christ, the Chinese, the Taoists, otherwise known as Taoists, right? T and D interchangeable there. It's kind of a pagan symbol, the yin yang. I grew up fascinated with it and drawing it on everything right as a child, but coming to look at it now based on our understanding of cosmology, it's undoubtedly a sun and a moon circling in one capacity, in one regard. They also use it to represent other things and concepts. But what'd you say, Sean?
Yeah, it's circling over the plane of the earth.
Right. If you look at it from a spatial way of like up and down rather than on a flat surface, you've got an underworld of darkness, with a above world of light, and then heaven above with earth below. And they have heavens represented by 3 parallel lines, unbroken lines too. Just interesting stuff.
Yeah,
I like it.
So in ancient China, many people's conceptions of the universe was that the heavens formed a sphere, which enclosed the earth at its center. The Suzong of the Song dynasty also constructed a hollow celestial globe pierced with holes to represent the fixed stars. Court astronomers could sit inside the revolving globe on a suspended seat to see the daylight shining in through the holes, giving an effect very much like a modern-day planetarium.
Things haven't changed much, have they? Planetariums are still you sitting in the center of a domed ceiling room looking up at projections of the stars. So
yeah, I mean, if they knew that it was the shape of a dome, then that would make perfect sense for them to build something like this. In fact, I had postulated something like this on my channel when I had on My House Ministries, when we were discussing the calendar, and we were trying to figure out when the actual sun goes through the 4th gate. And so you could determine the first day of the year every single year, but you would almost need to observe it consistently every day for almost 6 years before you figure that out. And I was like, if I could build like a 6-foot like a 4 pillars on like 6 feet with a hemispheric dome, plastic dome over my head that I could stand in every day and like mark with a Sharpie inside the dome where the sun's going. You know what I'm saying? So basically, they just built one like this in a different way back in the day.
I still think it's interesting, like on Susong's his planetarium that he created here. If you actually look at where he sat at, he was sitting eye level, and he has to look at a flat surface. You can see how they have like the flat surface that's coming across there. So the only way you would be able to see it this way is if you were perceiving it from a flat plane looking up. So that's where his perspective is. He's looking like we would on a flat plane looking at the stars.
Yeah, he basically made a miniature firmament model to sit inside of. Yeah, so wild. One other quote I found on the ancient Chinese model of the cosmos, that it was called Gai Qian, and that meant canopy heaven. Those two Chinese words. That is explained in the Zhu Bi in the 1st century BC. It differs fundamentally from the usual archaic conception of a flat earth with a hemispherical celestial vault like that of the pre-Socratic Greeks in the Chinese rivaling system called Hunqian. In the Gaiqian model, the heaven is thought to be flat and parallel to the earth. So you got these flat earthers, let's just say today, that ascribe to this idea of an infinite parallel plane are often not Bible believers, right? It's true. That they'll say that the firmament is more of just another plane that infinitely expands flat over our heads. So I just find it interesting that this otherwise pagan culture also would ascribe to that in some regard.
I think that has a lot to do with being the Taoist Chinese, is that everything was balanced. So that was the way that they built their foundation of their science and their religion. So if they had a flat surface that they were living on, then the surface above them had to be equal. This is their whole yin and yang.
Really?
But they approached everything with. So both their science and their religion, everything had to be balanced. It's where the ideas of alchemy and equivalent exchange come from. Is from their their Eastern philosophies that cover all this. You can't have one without the other being equally balanced. So
I see.
Even if both ideas were contradictory.
Right.
But to me, that's just like, isn't that what we see injected into society as an actual control mechanism, is to create the confusion, and then amidst the confusion they bring about order, the order out of chaos concept. So it makes perfect sense if whatever original founders or elders of the Chinese cultures came away from the Tower of Babel with that same philosophy, because that would all go back to Babylon.
Sure. It would. But I'll encourage you guys that the scriptures do support the idea of ends of the earth, that the earth has ends, that it's not an infinite plane. And also, especially in the book of Enoch, we see the ends of the heaven, that the ends of the firmament directly above us do have a foundation and pillars of heaven that rest on the earth.
Yeah, I think it's 1 Enoch chapter 72. It describes the actual circumference of the firmament being a circumference. So, which means it's round.
Circle, yeah.
Yeah, circular. So it's interesting. Yeah,
it really is.